Hi, welcome. So I had a listener write in and ask me if I would do a behind the scenes look at what it looks like to put a podcast episode together here at That Shakespeare Life. And I thought that was a pretty good idea. Now, putting together a podcast episode here on the show takes several steps. So this is going to be a series of videos where I show you in a condensed form how it looks to put a podcast together. So that's what's happening right now on That Shakespeare Life. So here I am in the Zoom room. I record on Zoom. This is my handy microphone. It has a name. It's an ATR, I want to say 2100. I'd have to look to get you the real number. I had this recommended to me by my podcast editor. I went to him and said, "What sounds good when you're when you're editing all the podcasts that you edit? What should I use?" And this was the one that he recommended, so I just went and bought it. I did not do any further microphone investigations other than taking an expert's advice on what would be good, which I don't even think I need to apologize for that because that's a really great way to do a lot of things. The process of putting the podcast together is you first have to pitch the guest. You have to have multiple conversations with the guests or the agent that represents the guest, sometimes the university department that gives permission for the guests to be on the show. If it's an organization, you kind of have to deal with their PR team. And so it just depends on which guest you're reaching out to and as to how much emailing or contacting it takes. There'll be a whole nother episode on what getting a guest onto the show looks like, and another episode after that on what a recording looks like. And today's episode is going to be about putting together the notes that go along with the show. So once the episode is finished and we're ready to publish this out, what is the public facing content that goes along with each episode? And today I am sitting down at my desk to do that for some of our recorded episodes. So I'm going to take you along with me and just screen share over and let you see what it looks like to put the notes together for a show. So here is my editing sheet. This is a Excel sheet. If it will load, there we go. Okay, so you'll see I have running topic ideas. Every time I think of something fun, I put it over here. Green highlighted means that I have a guest for that or that we've already done an episode on that. The blank ones that don't have any color are just topics I want to do. And then like this one up here, this guest has agreed to be on the show, but she can't till later. So I have a note of when to contact her back. So here are all of my episodes. This is my master editing sheet. Everything runs off of this sheet. My editor and I use this to stay on track with one another for what's been edited, what needs what. Okay, so these two episodes are highlighted green because they are ready to send to my editor. I have not. Gary Mayholm is our editor. You'll hear that on our show. He's been editing with me from day one. He has done our podcast from the very beginning, and that's eight years, I think, of working together. I should send him a gift. Gosh, Gary, we've been doing this a long time, man. This is awesome. But he's fantastic. He's an audio editor extraordinaire, and he reads my notes and takes my direction for the show with such grace and such love because he knows I am not a detail person. So I often get things like the time codes a little bit off, and he corrects that for me in post production because I'll be like, I want it to have this order. And anyway, so yes, best podcast advice ever is to get a really good editor who is not only really good at what they do, but really good at working with the people he works with. Gary has a lot of skills. Our podcast just would not be functional without him. So big shout out to Gary. So the green ones means that he has these episodes. Yellow means that I've recorded it, but it's ready for me to load the details in here for Gary. And then the ones that are blank are the ones that are in the process of being scheduled. I've got the topics I want to do, and then I'm finding guests or what have you and putting them together here. You'll notice that these are all dated for June. Our show does run, it's April now, so I try to run no less than 4 months ahead on the podcast. And the reason I do that is because guests have stuff come up. And when you want to put out a regular weekly podcast, you kind of have to plan for disaster and the unknown. So I try to run 4 months ahead, and that gives me time to reach out to guests who are fully booked for the next year and a half, and they're like, I can't do anything for a year and a half. And I have the flexibility to say, that's fine. I'll contact you, in a couple of months and we'll put something together and you can jump onto their calendar 6 months from now and make that work. So I try to have a good amount of buffer. I also really like having the buffer because around Christmas time and major holidays, I like to take a break. And my podcast keeps going out and has stuff publishing for those, 2 to 3 weeks at the end of the year that I really don't want to have to work as heavy because I'm doing the stuff that I'm doing. So, anyway, there's a lot that I could ramble on, obviously, but that's not why you're here. Let me get back to what I was doing. So, I'm going to go in here to this is WordPress. This is the back end of the CassieCash.com website. And you'll see I have episodes scheduled and I run off of an episode template. So all of these episodes have the same template. So when I'm starting a new show, I'll hit the clone button. And today we're actually going to build the notes out for Stephen Greenblatt's episode, even though I have not sent that to Gary yet. So I don't have the audio back from that, but I'm going to put the notes together anyway. And then when I get the audio back from him, I'll just slide it in. So I have to slide all the way down here past all of the scheduled ones to find the one I cloned. So see here, it cloned it, but it doesn't have all of the SEO details and it says draft out to the side. That's how I know, okay, this is the one I need to go in and edit. Now we are talking about Dark Renaissance and the death of Christopher Marlowe. Definitely consider that a working title. Most of the time, I will come back through, and this is YouTube planning. I should save that. I'm trying to go in and batch create my YouTube episodes quarterly. Anyway, you can tell me what you think about that, but that was that planning sheet. Didn't know that was over there. So I go over here to pages and I want to search Greenblatt and I'll find the interview notes that I took while we were talking. This is something I'm changing the process of. I'm trying to find a good AI tool that can take notes for me while I'm talking because I have found that guests really like it when I can engage with them directly. I have to make facial expressions and nod and stuff like this. They respond better, they talk better. And they work with me better when I can be visually there for them instead of having to take notes. But I haven't implemented that yet. So what you're looking at here on the screen is how I take notes while we're talking. But what I also have over here is I write out all the details. So the intro for the episode is right there. So I copy that and put it over here. It rarely, rarely, rarely wants to work. I have to be like, please function. I try to highlight the guest's name in bold. So I go find that, put that in there. Recently, when I get the audio file back from Gary, I will put the audio file here where you see the code, and then I'll have the transcript there as well. Gary generates the transcript for me because we generate a transcript from the final edited show. So we don't want you to be reading through all of our, hey, I need to pause. There's a noise outside. Oh, okay, we're done. Let's go back. Kind of hiccups that happen when you're recording live. So we generate a transcript, and the transcript represents just what was on the finished episode itself. So if you're hearing it on the audio, it's showing up in the transcript and not anything else. So when I get those back from Gary, they'll go there. Our That Shakespeare Society promo, I used to do this image specific to the episode where it was kind of teasing some of the images you were going to get if you joined us over on That Shakespeare Society. Instead, here what I have is just a sample of the kind of stuff that's in there. I'm trying this out to see, which works better from a marketing point of view, but I think for today, I'm not going to change that image. I like it, so I'm going to leave that there. Claire Jackson was our last guest, so I'm changing out that information. Stephen Greenblatt sent over a long bio. There it is. I was like, I knew he had one. And I thank him for doing that. That makes my life easier because I can feel confident pasting this in there. I know this is how he wanted to be described and the accolades he wanted me to give him in the wording and the titles and the links that he wanted, they're all there. I love it when guests send me exactly how they want me to describe them. It's very helpful. But obviously, we need him to have his profile image. I'm gonna go find that. I do have it. Well, that's interesting. Surely. Oh, he did. He sent it to me that way. Okay, hang on. It's okay. We'll work with this. But you can see it's showing up too small. I don't like how that looks. So what we're going to do is open this, and then I'm actually going to screen capture this in a shape that matches the space that I want it to take up. I'm going to go ahead and get all of his shoulder there. The space I want it to take up on here so that when I put it in here, it will take up the space I want it to. And what I'm doing right now is going back and saying, wait, I want to make sure I can find this screen capture later. So I'm renaming it before I insert it. I think my computer fights me. It's like, oh, you're trying to find this file. Let me start you out anywhere else. So you see that fits in the space much better. So that works. And then let's see, can I move that up any? Oop, nope, didn't want to do that. Okay, sorry, never mind. Made it mad. There you go. All right, so that'll work. For that, I don't love that this is longer than his image. I really prefer that it fit right there next to that. Let's see what else I have here. I'll just take, what's it look like if I put the one yeah, that looks better. Okay. And he has a huge faculty page that I can link over to where all of the extra stuff is put there. This highlights all of it, just kind of condenses what he sent me, and it looks a little better on the page, which when it looks better on the page, he looks better, I look better. So we're gonna do that. And then I will put his faculty page down here under recommended resources. So for every episode, I summarize what we talk about. That is just a summary of the questions. Talk about Marlowe and the Dutch libel. We talk about it and why. This we covered the allegations that Christopher Marlowe was. How do I spell allegations? Thank you. Nope, you didn't like that either. That was your own suggestion. Allegations? Did I not? Is that not right? Okay, it is. Thank you. Whatever. Go away. Anyway, he covers that. You'll need to listen to this episode. I was like, oh my gosh, are we really going way into this? But he did. He went way that way. And I was like, alrighty, I'm going to get some letters. But anyway, there we are. I did ask the question and he just answered me. So that's fine. Let's see. Oh, yeah, we do talk about universities and being a spy. We talk about the circumstances of Marlowe's death. I don't know why death is capitalized. And that my very favorite and more, which of course we do. Now, I also asked the guests to send me their recommended resources. This started way back at the beginning. We ask for three, and we do that because when I first started publishing these, I had a widget that did 3 images, and I would import or embed rather Amazon book covers, and it linked over to Amazon, and the widget held three. And so to make it match for every episode, I asked for three. At this point, I don't do the Amazon widget anymore because because tech just changes too often, and I ended up with a lot of broken links because Amazon decided not to support the widget anymore or whatever. So now we just link over to Amazon directly for the resources that are available on Amazon. When they are not available on Amazon, I will link to the faculty page or where, the sometimes it's archive.org or wherever it is that the book appears. But this, I do make a little bit of money. I don't want to link to the audiobook. I do make a little money from Amazon for these links. So that's why I include them because every little bit helps. But when I say a little bit, it's like, I think I made $3 last year, and that wasn't from, I mean, last month, and that wasn't from book links. That was actually from my animated plays that are incredibly popular in Japan for reasons I don't understand. And so they actually make more money than these links. I've questioned why I even deal with Amazon affiliates anymore because they don't really make any money. But they do make some. So, I keep doing it. Then I come down here and we're gonna make sure that we tell the SEO when to bring it up. I have a widget installed that tells me whether the focus key phrase is correct and what to change about it so that I can make sure I'm doing that right. Did I spell that right? And I like to put the episode number. What is this? 427. And then we confirm that it's 427 with our edit sheet because the edit sheet knows all. Okay. And then we're going to summarize this. Explore the explosive. I can't spell. Explore the explosive and what's another good inflammatory word? Exciting. Set the foundation for Renaissance theater. I added that second little descriptor because of something the guest prioritized during our interview, and I know that's how he'll want it characterized, if you're wondering. So I do keep that in mind, how they want it to be represented. So I know that that's a reflection of the actual conversation. Now I have to go over here to Canva and make the header image. Again, this is a template. So I usually make a copy of the last one that I made. And I try to make the titles match. This is the part where sometimes I edit the titles because I need it to fit. But see, that one looks nice. Um, and let's jump over here and grab the. See, that's too short. Okay, explore the expressive and exciting life and death of Christopher and how it works. Something. From author and historian Stephen Greenblatt, we dive into the deep end of history to explore, to to uncover the hidden secrets about the life, trial, and untimely death of Shakespeare contemporary Christopher Marlowe and how hit there. That looks better. Okay. So needs to describe the show and let's see, I need images of Christopher Marlowe. We're gonna put his picture as the background picture. So every time I make this, the background of the cover image is something from the show. It's representative of our conversation. In this case, it's about Christopher Marlowe. So we're going to put him front and center. Now, obviously, you can't read it with him right up front. So we're going to move him back. I have a, what's it called? Cover. Anyway, see how it's covering it? So that I want you to be able to see the background, but the highlight is the guest because the guest is who's going to be meeting with me for this, and they are the focus. Where did my desktop go? See, I swear, I think it moves it. Oh, you're looking for this? Let me hide it from you. Anyway, that looks better too. I don't know what the web page HTML thing I got sent from there. He has a team, in case you're wondering. So that was a team of conversations, but episode 427, Stephen Greenblatt, Christopher Marlowe. This will be the header image. This will get sent to the guest in their follow up their notification email when the episode goes live. So I try to make sure it's named something that's going to both be identifiable for me in terms of what it is, so I can place it over here where it needs to go, and then something that the guest is going to know what it is when they get ready to do that too. So, okay, so we're going to, when am I publishing it? June 22nd. So that's what I tell it. And all of my episodes go out at 9 in the morning. So I schedule it for 9 a.m. Monday morning, June 22nd. I go and make sure that all of the categories are the way they're supposed to be. It should be on the blog and on the podcast episode. It's the blog is clicked so that if you go to my homepage and you click on episodes, that's the blog of all of our published shows. And that's the only category that's there. So that's why I have to select both so that that widget will work. All right, then I hit schedule. And again, I'm going to come back and update the audio later, but everything else looks the way that it's supposed to. So I'll copy that. Then I come over here and I add a new pretty link. So this is episode 427, Stephen Greenblatt on Christopher Marlowe. I want it to be a permanent show and I want the URL episode 427 to work. So that means that when I say on the podcast, find all these things at CassidyCash.com/episode 427. You can enter that URL on your end and it will go to this blog post that we just made. Now, over on Patreon, we do even more. So the second part of this show is to create a Patreon post that's going to go along with this. And this will be called the detailed show notes. Now, this takes a good bit of research because I got to make a list of exactly what I want to include and I got to go find all of that stuff. And I very seriously doubt you want to sit here and watch me do online research. So I'm just telling you that there will be another one. I can show you. I'll give you a sneak peek at one of the ones we've already done, and you can see what that looks like. What's a good one? Here you go. We've got one on dragons. That's coming up soon. So here is the post that's going out with our dragon episode. And so this, what I did was I go through the question set that I talked about with the guest, and I kind of mine their answers for artifact mentions or primary document mentions. So my Wi-Fi dropped in the middle of me trying to show that to you. So we're going to jump back in here and finish what I was saying. The outline that I was showing you of the Dragons episode on Patreon, that is an example of the kind of when I talk about detailed show notes or when I talk about the society extras or the bonus content that happens for our members of That Shakespeare Life, that's what I'm talking about. The podcast goes out completely free. You can listen to the whole conversation and there's never any charge to listen to what we talk about on the show. If you want to go even further and see some of the research that went into the development of the show, then you join us over on That Shakespeare Society. You become a member of That Shakespeare Life, and every single one of our episodes, which at this point is over 400 shows, has bonus content. And it's just in-depth history. It's primary documents, illustrations, paintings, anything relevant. Like I'll link to court cases. I'll even put bonus resources in there. If I'll say, hey, I was reading this article or I was reading this book as we were putting the question set together for this conversation, I'll share those with you over on the society. And that goes for all of our episodes. There's only about 250 public episodes of That Shakespeare Life. The other 200 you do have to become a member to have access to. So keep that in mind. But that's part of the benefit of helping support our show and make it possible for us to do all this research is that you support our show. So that's what all goes into over there. Now, putting that together, putting all of the bonus content together takes about 2 hours at least of research from me. And that does not include like reading the book that the guest wrote or reading articles related to putting the question sets together or any of the pre-recording research, which is a whole nother set of hours and hours worth of work to put that together. I'm just talking about putting together the extras for our patrons. That is me going in and doing the research. If you want to see me do the actual research, let me know. Tell me about it in the comments. Send me a message if you're one of our patrons on Patreon and let me know. At the moment, that sounds really tedious to me. So I'm choosing to leave that out of today's show because I'm just not sure that you would be interested. But to continue on here with our episode development. So, okay, at this point, the basic show notes are done, the one that tells you about our guest and links to the resources they recommend. That's ready to go. And then I'm going to record my screen again over here on QuickTime. Okay, so now what I'm going to show you is what happens after I get the show notes together. So, once the show notes are together, then we have to schedule social media. And you'll see this. Let's pick this. We have a complete week here. Oh, that one didn't go out like it was supposed to. That didn't publish to Blue Sky. Do it now. There we go. Okay, so Blue Sky is finicky, but you'll look. I'm not going to have you go through all this with me because this is a lot of, again, detail work, but I'll show you kind of how it works. I use Buffer to schedule out social media for my channel. Every Monday, we send out the episode announcement. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I always send out well, it was Shakespeare's birthday this last Thursday, so that was special. But normally, Tuesdays and Thursdays are samples from the detailed show notes. So, like in the Dragon episode, I think I had 30 to 35 images and artifacts that were in there. I will take two of those and share them out. One as a post on Tuesday and one as a post on Thursday as an example of here's the continuing conversation. And for people that are following us on social media, that's just a chance to kind of see the history behind what we talked about and to, just start a conversation about the show all week long. I try to use social media as a place where you can talk about what we're learning in a social way. So Tuesdays and Thursdays are that. Wednesdays is always Weird Word Wednesday. I try to batch create these. If you're really eagle-eyed and you follow me every Wednesday, you'll see that like every 4 Wednesdays in a row, I'm wearing the same outfit. That's because I try to record the Weird Word Wednesdays ahead of time. Because that way, if the week gets busy, I don't forget to do it or run out of time to do it. We make sure that that goes out on time. So the Weird Word Wednesday is the post that goes out on Wednesdays. And then on Friday, I typically invite people to join us in That Shakespeare Society. And I'll either talk about something cool that's gone out that week, or I'll remind people that there is a set of detailed show notes for this week's episode and kind of what you can see if you join us there. So that's what goes out on Friday. And then, of course, Saturday is our YouTube video. These I batch as well, and they get scheduled separately. But part of putting together the weekly show notes is making sure that the episode is scheduled to go out on social media following this plan. You'll notice I'm very type A. Everything has a plan. After the social media, well, not everything has a plan, I guess, but I try to put everything with a plan. That's a better way to put it. Over here for my email marketing, we use ConvertKit. I think it's now called Kit. I'm trying to hit go away and it won't leave. There we go. Okay. So you'll see I've got a gap here between episode 426 and episode I don't know why Zoom is popping up. Yeah, I am still recording over here. I guess that's it coming back with the old one. Anyway, go. So we're working on episode 427. I do have 444 and 446 already done. These are going out around the holidays. I definitely try to get holiday episodes way ahead of time because if you wait until October, November, December to try and record holiday themed shows, people are busy. They're booked, especially academics. No, don't try to pin somebody down over the fall. They are knee deep in exams and classes and you're just not going to get them. So typically I try to record our fall episodes way back in the summer. I think this year's Halloween episode I recorded actually last February. So that's how far ahead I have to plan those. But anyway, we come in here and typically I summarize what the episode is about. I'll share with you that cover image and then there'll be a link to where you can listen. I'll let you know what we talk about and remind you that there's bonus history available in That Shakespeare Society if you would like to see some of the history behind the show. And then I schedule that to go out on the same day and time as the podcast goes out. And then I hop over to my email and we schedule notification emails. Over here under send later is where all my notification emails are. So I will let the guests know, hey, your episode is live. Here's the link for where to listen. And then I also include the images just to make it easy for them to share that out. If you want to share that out on your social channels, or you want to tell your friends and neighbors that, you're on this podcast and they want to listen, I try to make it highly shareable, clickable, for the guests. I want them to not have to do anything at all to spread the word about listening to the show. And then that's it. That's what putting together a podcast episode takes. That is about 2 work days of my week. I have the admin day where I'm sending the emails and talking with the guests. I have the recording day where I'm recording the show. And then I have days like today where I'm going in and I'm putting together the show notes. I'm putting together the emails and the socials and all the stuff that's going to go out to make it look all nice and pretty for you. That's what I do. So if you have questions about what putting together show notes for a podcast are, if there's some topic you wanted to know about that I may have left out in my overview today, be sure to write me in the comments. I'm active in the comments here on YouTube. I will reply to you. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye. If you like walking around in turn of the 17th century England to see the sights, smell the smells, play the games, and maybe even haunt an old theater or two, then this is the place for you. Hit that notification bell so you can be sure to join us on our next adventure. I'll see you in the next episode.